Yes, nothing will stop us from making a show, even in times that we cannot control the outcome. And even after the craziness of the past couple days here, we're still doing a show. The show must go on. And I have no one better yet to do a show than our friend of the show, Alex Young, to talk about the midpoint of the baseball season with me. Alex, what's up, man? Thank you so much for being here after a crazy day we've had today.
I'm doing good, man. Looking forward to having this conversation again. Thank you for having me on the show yet again. Looking forward to talking some mid-season baseball. Heading straight into the All-Star break should be very fun. All-Star game, home run derby, all the events around the All-Star looking awesome. So I'm excited to talk about the season up until this point so far.
No doubt about it. It is a good time and it is interesting. And yeah, I who would have thought when we did the show with you, me, and Andy, who would have thought at this point, like this season in general has been quite a roller coaster ride from sticky stuff to teams underachieving, overachieving. We have players just going out of their minds. I didn't I don't know about you. I didn't expect the season to get so, you know, nuts, honestly, at this point, for lack of a better word. How you feel the same way with this season in particular?
Yeah, I do. I feel like there's a lot of interesting storylines. Obviously, the one that's most pressing is the sticky stuff crackdown. That happening midway through the year, and the causation of what's happening with some of the pitchers we saw early on. You know, some star pitchers got hurt because they had to change their grip on the ball and all this stuff. So it was very interesting to see a lot of weird things too. Like, who would have thought, the Giants out of the West were going to have such a fantastic season so far at this point. A lot of people had them kind of a bottom tier team. But yeah, no, it's been a very interesting season in terms of just different things going on and storylines and what's happening with the future of baseball going into negotiations. Is this now sticky stuff crackdown going to be another element
Right.
of this CBA agreement down the line? And how is that going to affect things going forward? So, yeah, so far it's been a very interesting season to say the least.
Nothing but, dude, and excellent points you're making. And why don't we just hit on that right away, especially the sticky stuff? So, yeah, I guess back in just to rehash what was going on, coming into the months like late May, late April, May, and then they finally made the decision in June to ban any player who's using this quote unquote sticky stuff. There was always rumblings that pitchers were getting an advantage, and it was using, like I said, quote unquote, the sticky stuff known as spider tack. And it was really came to light when you have people like Josh Donaldson call out Garrett Cole specifically, and that mess, and we've seen quite a difference in that span. I think we have to wait to see, a few when it's a few more months, when it's like September, October, how much of a difference is really made. But so far, in the early numbers show that batting averages have gone up. There have been more home runs since this crackdown happened. But as you said, the negative stuff, there have been players who've been negatively affected and even as go as hurt, like Tyler Glass now of the Rays. So how do you feel about this whole situation go down? Do you think it's necessary? Do you think players were just complaining too much about the pitchers getting ahead of them? Or do you think this was the right thing to do? And for something that somebody like Garrett Cole said, these pitchers have used some type of form, and it goes back to the earliest pitchers who did something to get an edge. But do you think this was the right thing to do, and we just had to get used to a new normal, or do you think it may have been blown out of proportion?
I think it was the right thing to do, but I think the execution of it was poor.
Yeah.
I think if you looked at Spider Tack and you track down, pitchers who were using it and things like that, yes, it was known Spider Tack obviously increases spin rate on the ball. People have done tests. It
Mm-hmm.
gives you an unfair advantage than other things. Rosin is sunscreen and some other things you don't have increased, I just hit, like, you're checking my hands, there's going to be sticky, it might be something sticky if I'm not using batting gloves or whatever. So, and then also in the middle of the season, like I said, with the injuries, like Glass now said, he should have been he was looking like an all-star Cy Young candidate going into, middle of the season. he's pretty much done until maybe the postseason, because he said he had to change his whole grip on his fastball, change his whole grip on his breaking pitches, grip the ball tighter. His arms weren't used, his elbow and stuff wasn't used to that grip because he had a lighter grip because of whatever. I think he said he used a mixture of sunscreen and rosin, and he goes to do that, and now he's hurt. So, to have that in the middle of the year, it's a little bit rough because, like you said, all these pitchers have to adjust, right? So it was just the execution was done poorly. I wouldn't have been fine with, okay, if we detect spider tack or whatever, we just outright like whatever. Everyone expects the clubhouses for spider tack. Whoever you're chucking that out, or whoever.
Yep.
But to have it in the middle of the year, I think was very done poorly. I would have been fine with them saying, okay, we're seeing what's going on here at the end of the year. Like, we no more stuff, rosin only, no more sunscreen, rosin only. You're going to have a whole off season to get used to that. You're going to have a whole off season to get used to that grip. And from here on out, that's what you're doing. Like, you're not going to have any other advantage, any other mixtures, any other combinations, any whatever. You just rosins out there just to give the pitchers enough time. You can't, to me, to have it done in the middle of the season, I think was just poor, done poorly. I think it was done in the right way because the pitchers were getting an unfair advantage, and we saw what the numbers were happening, but just the execution of it was very poor.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And just another to add to the list of people to hate Manfred, and it's just so awkward. And yeah, and this obviously would have been perfect for the collective bargaining agreement negotiations going into the winter, but I guess it's just an example of this guy going into peer pressure again. And well, now we just have an awkward, and though you said changes need to be made, it's now turned into literally a sticky situation. And I guess and also just seeing the pitchers really go down from it, like a Garrett Cole, for instance. Obviously, except besides his start on Saturday, he really wasn't pitching good. Lower velocity, lower on the spin rate, kept the velocity up, but still getting more vulnerable and missing places in the plate and getting lots of hits. I mean, another Chapman has been fishy how he turned from the best reliever to literally the worst starting closer in all of baseball with that. And well, you just got to it's just another example of pivoting in sports. And it is getting offensive numbers back, which obviously baseball, one of the biggest things to attract people is the home run and base hits. And I mean, they're getting that aspect back, but this is also just a great example to see who is still a valuable pitcher even without this adjustment. For instance, like your boy Jacob deGrom, he's probably literally turned one of the best pitchers of all time. And even after this crackdown, he's still dominating. I mean, you must be thrilled at that, seeing how there must be so much pride with that with deGrom, huh?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was a little nervous because I know there's rumors going around that he was also using spider tack and using something illegal, and people were talking about that. And he's not going to be as good after the crackdown. And then I think like those next couple starts after, he was same old Jake deGrom. He did give up like a home run early on, but then he would retire 15 in a row or 17, whatever he was doing. He was dominating, still dominating. And that was a good thing, really good to see. He, like we said, he's having a historic year. As a Mets fan, this is just fun to watch. I keep on messaging my family. We have this Mets group chat with my uncles and my cousins and everything. And I always message like, we can't take this for granted. We're watching history in the making here. And it's just so awesome. And, we've been blessed to have him, Cy Young, two-time Cy Young winner, and to see him dominate. But like, this is like a whole other level we've never seen before. We haven't seen in a really long time. And, I think, his ERA number, he's close again on breaking, or he could break Bob Gibson's, unbeatable record of, his, crazy, 1 point whatever ERA from, the 60s or whatever it was, whatever year it was. So, to see him do that, and, a lot of my uncles grew up watching Bob Gibson, and to see them, and my dad, and to see them be like, this guy is like him, and like he's just as dominant, and he's only getting better, and he's in his 30s. Like, that's the crazy thing to me. He's like 31, I think 31, and he's getting better every year. Usually you start seeing pitchers start to trend down. He's trending up, and it's like, and he's coming, his velocity is getting higher, and all those different things. Like just hearing from his teammates and how much he works on his game, it just shows. It just shows what he's doing this year is that he's just a workhorse. And like we had the little bit of the injury scare twice with him, but you just tell he's a gamer and a competitor, and he wanted to be out there. And that's how we kind of knew, like, okay, it's not as serious. But again, it's also Jacob, and he's also so competitive that like we're all like, hold on, like we know you, we love you, but we don't want you to go out there and get hurt, and then we're in trouble. So just to see him, even go fight through those injuries and still dominate. I think even in his short outings, I think the short outing against the Cubs, he like struck out like 8 in a row or 8 in 3 innings or whatever. So it's just a blessing to watch him, and I'm super stoked that even after the spider attack and grip crackdown, he's still as dominant as ever.
Yeah, lovely to see. And to confirm, it's the ERA record is 1.12 in 68 for Gibson.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's on track for that. So at the moment, as of today, his ERA is at okay, his ERA right now is at 1.08. So he could be making history in that sense if he keeps at it. And honestly, why not? As long as he keeps the ball in the ballpark, especially because the home runs is the worst thing to add to your ERA, then we might see him pull that off, win his 3rd straight Cy Young, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be excited. Are you some of these people who say don't play him until the postseason type? Or you I think hasn't been a pitcher like DeGrom who's just so carefully placed in his starts, not that I can remember. It's kind of fascinating. He's almost like a great exhibit or something to catch him at these times. Or are you somebody who, do your starts every 5 days, continue that, and just make us proud on probably his next Cy Young award?
You could also potentially get some MVP votes too at this rate. Who knows? He could get both. So we'll see.
I mean, especially his hitting too.
The answer.
Don't forget the hitting numbers too. He's one of the best hitters on the team.
Which is insane. But to answer your question, I wasn't one of those people to say, let's sit him until the postseason. I know we had those back-to-back injuries. He was like, I'll make my next start. Or Rosas was like, he's probably going to make his next start. Everything's trending in that right direction. I was more of like, it's okay to rest him a week or 2 weeks and get him like healthy and get him, he still does his bullpen sessions and everything like that. I was like a little nervous, like I said, the shoulder, and I think it was the elbow and then the shoulder or whatever. And then it was like so near each other that, and we know how much of a competitor that, like, I was nervous he was going to push himself and get him hurt, and then we won't have him for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. And then the season's over at that point. If we don't Jacob, we're in trouble. I know he only pitches every 5 days, but again, he's just that valuable to this team. So I was all for like, why don't we rest him a week or two? I'm not for like, let's rest him to the postseason. No, we need him, especially now. I know we're still leading the NL East, but I know with, unfortunately, one of my favorite players who's not a Met, who's actually a rival on the Braves, Ronald Acuna, is out for the year with that torn ACL, unfortunately. Yeah. But like, it's still a close race in the NL East. The Braves can turn on if their pitching gets good. They still have Ozzie Albies. They still have a lot of offensive talent that can all turn around.
Freddie Freeman too.
And come out of the break, they can go on a run, right? Oh, Freddie Freeman, so they have talent there, and they can still fight for the NL East. There's a couple, so it's not like we're getting lucky with how the bottom tier of the NL East is not doing good. Other than us, we're doing fine, but. We need him, and especially with coming out All-Star break, we need to really solidify this race and go on a big run, and he's going to be a big part of that. So I'm not here resting for the offseason. I'm all for resting to the postseason. Sorry. If something comes up again, where like I said, it's his elbow or his shoulder or whatever, I'm fine shutting him down for a week or two until say, Jacob, like, we know you're a gamer, we know how competitive you are, we love that about you, but we need you. You think of the big picture. We need you down the line here. So like, let's rest you for 2 weeks and get you back out. So that's how I'm all for, and like you said, it is fascinating because it's like, it's a selling point for the Mets now, right? It's Jacob DeGrom Day. Like, yeah, we're going to post all this stuff on social, and we're going to get tickets, and people are going to come out and watch, so it's rare. I was listening to the John Smoltz on WFAN the other day. And the fascinating thing about him that he talked about with Jacob was like, he was like, I knew from his very first start in that interview that he was going to be must watch baseball.
Gets the
And he was
Yankees.
like, he says, I don't say this often, but he said, I don't say this much often, but he said he's the pitcher that I would watch to play baseball and pitch. And I was like, hearing that from John Smoltz, a rival of the Mets for 20 years, whatever it was, long career, a Hall of Famer. Right. It just shows it is. DeGrom's an attraction, and we haven't really had that for a pitcher in a really long time. The person to me that I always tuned in to watch was like Randy Johnson and Clemens, and then when we were growing up, right, those were the guys that we wanted to watch, and following that, really for me, I just love watching Jacob DeGrom. I know there's a bias because he's a Met, but it's true. Like, he is much watch baseball. When he's on the mound, people are tuning in, and it's just crazy. So we're blessed. But like I said, I'm not one of those fans like, we need to rest him until the postseason. Like, no, if something comes up again, let's tell him you could sit, a few weeks. We got this, because the Mets have shown that when, we have the depth and players that want to compete, and we can get by without him starting a game or two. So that's a long-winded answer, but yeah, I'm not one of those fans that are like, yeah, let's shut him down. I want him to go out there because he's so fun to watch, and we obviously need him because he's so important to this team. Every star we know from here on out that hopefully we can get him a win, or he's going to put us in position to win games. So that's why we need him out there.
Nothing but, man. Excellent points all over the board. And sticking with the Mets, you guys have had an amazing season so far. Really, I mean, the word amazing, I should say, really good, really great season so far compared to what it is. At this moment, Mets are 3.5 games up above the Phillies. They've been played well. You guys are the team of the doubleheader and always split on those doubleheaders. But, sticking with that, you have players like a Dominic Smith been stepping up this year. Obviously, Taijuan Walker getting named to the All-Star game, which is deserves. And what a move. You didn't need Trevor Bauer. You took him. And obviously, the PR nightmare with him is well avoided. And you have this up-and-coming star who's earned his keep in Taijuan Walker, the other number 99. You've had Alonso's been hitting off. Needs that average up, but he's been good. But you've also had some players that have underachieved a little bit, whether it's a Francisco Lindor, Conforto could be playing better, to name a few. But all in all, you must be pretty psyched with what's going on with the Mets in general. How are you feeling about your team up to this point? Also, Guillermo's really good too, and VR, and Peraza.
Yeah.
So there you
go. We've had it's been, I would say, a roller coaster of emotions for this season, mostly positive. But obviously, as a Mets fan, and you look at the East, with the Phillies, like I said, and the Braves, both teams can go on runs. I know that Braves lost Cooney, like I said earlier. Philly can go on a run too. So, it's a close race. This is not a runaway right now. But the fact that with all the injuries that the Mets had, you lose McNeil, you lose J.D. Davis, you lose Michael Conforto, Marcus Stroman went down for a little. You don't have Carrasco, you don't have Syndergaard, and players like Billy McKinney and Villar and Pilar and Peraza and all these kind of ragtag under the radar signings that we made are all playing and keeping us afloat and playing extremely well. And like I said, Taijuan Walker, so deserving of getting the All-Star. I was hoping that him and Jacob got it, but the fact that Jacob said, I don't want to pitch in the All-Star game, we already know his famous moment from the All-Star game. He's done it. But to give the nod to Taijuan Walker and having him out there for us is awesome. But yeah, super stoked. And like you said, there's players who have underperformed. McNeil, I know he's been injured, but coming back, he's struggling early. Then he got injured. Then he's still kind of struggling in his own way, even though he had a walk-off hit. He's hopefully will turn around. Conforto, same thing. And in the big contract year, we were wondering how much we were going to pay him. He's been, not the Conforto that we know, at the All-Star level that he's been at. And I know he was hurt for a while, and he's coming back and he's getting adjusted. He had a home run the other day. So hopefully that trends him in the right direction. But overall, with Lindor underwhelming a little bit, but now, I know the last 2 weeks he's been turning it around offensively. We know how much of a leader he is. That's why I said the big thing is I told you, when we were talking about it, before the season started, he was mainly coming in. Obviously, his defense is fantastic. We know what the offense he can bring, but I said mainly we know how much of a clubhouse leader he is, and how much the players love him, and how vocal he is. And I hear this often, and it really is fascinating to watch. Like, if you look at the pitching or huddles, the rare huddles that happen on the mound, he is one of the guys that is constantly talking, and you just love to see that. And it's a shortstop. Usually you let the manager shortstop, whatever, everyone out there, hey, okay, cool, we got this, you got this, whoever on the mound, like Taiwan or whatever, okay, time on, lock in, we're good, we got you, right? Well, let's get back out there. He's constantly talking to the pitcher, he's constantly talking to everyone. And I love seeing that from him, and seeing these last 2 weeks. And I know he kind of chirped at us Mets fans, when he hit the grand slam the other day, and he was like, I was waiting to see if there's any boos in the crowd. And then, but that's the kind of the guy he is. And, hopefully it turns, this is a turning point for him. I know, like I said, last 2 weeks, he's been pretty solid, hitting home runs and hitting all, clutch base hits, obviously, in the grand slam and all that stuff. But overall, to kind of wrap up the question, the Mets season, it's been fun. And the reason why it's been fun is because of these ragtag guys that came in when all of our stars get injured, and we're all hitting the panic button because what are we going to do? We lost everyone. And then guys like Billy McKinney and Pilar and Villar and all these guys come in, and they just hold everything down for those few, that 3-week span. We're winning games somehow with these ragtag guys that are all likable and all making key plays and, all this stuff. And, so, just as be it, leading the NL East going into the All-Star break, it could have been an absolute disaster with the injuries that happened. But the fact that we stayed afloat, we kept on battling. Everyone has stepped up across the board. Even our pitching staff, Stroman's been pretty, really solid this year. I know he had a couple of rough starts here and there, but holding it down, knowing that, after DeGrom, he's the main guy. And Taiwan Walker, again, like you said, unbelievable signing. We could have thrown $40 million at Trevor Bauer. And obviously we the Spiar number is going through. That's very serious. But the fact that we have now Taiwan Walker for 2 years, he might get, extended just because of how well he has. But
why not
sign him in, yeah, why not? I would have extended him for a few more years. Why not? Guy, had injury history when he was with Seattle, and kind of on this back end of, can he still be a major league pitcher, and now being named an all-star just shows, that Sandy and then the staff really believe in this guy, giving him a good contract, and he's delivered. And, like I said, a lot of these guys, when, they kind of had this next man mentality and next man up, and here we are. So overall, cannot be, any more thrilled that way I am now. Looking forward, the future's bright for this team, and we hope, coming out of this All-Star break, we keep on going, because, I know it's only, a 3.5 game lead. We start off out of the All-Star break hot. Hopefully Phillies and Braves, crumble a little, being a biased Mets fan.
of course.
And we anchor down this NL East and hopefully, cruise our way into the postseason. So, super stoked about the season so far. And it, like I said, it could have, typical Met fan, we could have, when we saw these injuries, well, that's the season. But the fact that we're here at the All-Star break with a positive outlook heading forward is always great. Can't complain about that.
No, nothing but excellent points once again. And they start the end of this week. They're going back to play a struggling Pirates team. Reckon they took 2 out of 2 in the 2 out of 4 in the home series this past weekend. There's no reason why you shouldn't be confident to win at least this series, because they are a really bad baseball team. And then you do play a tough series against the Reds, who have been another surprising team this season, led by Nick Castellanos. But you guys are good. You have the juice. You have the team camaraderie, I feel. It's been a roller coaster from obviously all the ugly stuff with PR, with some of the accusations. Then you have, Steve Cohen being a silly owner tweeting. Then you had from Donnie Diesel to players having beef. It's been quite a, almost like a movie with the Mets season in 2021. But you guys are winning games, and that's what's most important. And, well, we'll see where it goes from there. Any other final thoughts regarding the Mets?
No, just like I said, hopefully coming out of this break, we're all happy, healthy. Like I said, the team camaraderie is there, and they can just keep this momentum going. Like you said, starting off against the Pirates, and hopefully get that series win this time around.
All right. So let's talk about the New York Yankees, Alex. This team that has been, I don't even know what words to say. The New York Yankees in 2021 reminds me of a bad relationship. When you try so hard and you want it to work so bad, they disappoint you. But then you think there's some miracles that things are finally turning around. There's love there. There's great attraction. There's something here that's going to pull through and we're going to prosper and be in love. But yet they just know how to stay in their ways, disappoint you, trick you, and most importantly, well, most of all, they tease you and they trick you and they just let you down. That's what the Yankees are like in 2021. This team that people really expected to win the East is only 3 games above 500. They lose in the most disgusting way possible, blowing leads. There's not one player you can trust. Everyone except Aaron Judge pretty much is underachieving. Now you've had DJ LeMahieu step up a little bit. Gary Sanchez has been hitting too, but this team has they just break your heart. They really do. They are 8.5 games behind in the East, 4.5 from the second wild card. And for a team that has thrown so much money at their players, looking the exact same from year after year after year and losing these tough playoff losses, we're now at a point where what can we do anymore? And if this past week, it cannot be more of an example of that, then I don't know what is. I thought when we lost against the Angels, which I was there, I was actually at that game. I didn't stay till 1 a.m. I thought after the second rate delay, oh, they're not going to play. They're winning 7-1. And they did. I got home, watched the rest of it, lost a night of sleep. And then after this weekend, you shut the Astros, who obviously is our biggest rivals, shut the Astros out on Friday 4-0. Garrett Cole pitches the game of his life, the biggest game as a Yankee, 129 pitches against his old team for the first time, too. And striking out 12, only to score 7 runs and give up 5 runs. You give up a 5-run lead, 5 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning with Chad Green, not Aroldis Chapman, who's been a joke this season, but Chad Green, who we thought, again, he was going to be the great reliever out of the bullpen. And, well, yeah, we won the season series against Houston. Yes, we did take 2 out of 3 from this, but we can't sweep. We're literally the worst team in baseball in terms of blowing third games for a sweep. And yeah, it's just, I can't take it anymore, Alex. Before I give more of my thoughts of what to do next, just what do you think just on the other side watching this team? You could just be honest to say you love it. I wouldn't blame you. But what do you think of what this Yankee team is doing, man? It's just a real question mark.
I think it really is a real question mark watching from the other side. Just because, like you said, a lot of people pick them to be favorites to win the East, be in the playoffs, contend for a World Series. And you look at the standings, and they're in 4th in the AL East, and it's not looking like anything good's going to happen, right? There's not a lot of promise. And who's stepping up? Like you said, Aaron Judge is maybe obviously the best player right now. But it's like you look at Boston, and it's like, wow, they're doing a lot better than a lot of people thought. And Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay is always good. Then look at the Yankees. It's like, what's going on? And it's like you said, it's just roller coasters. Like there's games they look like the old Yankees and hit home runs and dominate, and then there's games that look like they have no idea what they're doing out on the field, and they have no idea what they're doing with the bat, and and they're blowing saves, and Chapman goes from being the most dominant closer in baseball the first 2 months to not knowing how to throw a fastball and giving up a game-time grand slam to a lefty and Jared Walsh in the Angels game. And the game the other day, 5-run lead in the ninth, you blow it. Altuve hits, of all people, hits the walk-off. Like,
right.
It's just been such a weird season to watch. And just seeing, just looking at this team and I kind of, looking into this year, I was like, how long can it work with this team of just home run, like kind of home run versus anything else? And you look now and it's this lineup's not effective anymore. And it's, you can't go with this home run mentality. And I know me, I don't love analytics, but I don't know if there's analytics telling them something that we're not seeing here, but whatever it's getting told is not working for this Yankee team. Right. So, and I know a lot of people blame certain things, but just looking at this before I joined on, I was like, there's something that, a lot of people are saying, and I'm starting to agree with. And as much as I love this guy, and I love them since the Marlins, but like just the contract with Giancarlo Stanton and how it's just hampering any movement with what this team can do. You have a $30+ million guy being a DH. We know he can play left field, but they're so afraid that he's going to injure his calf or his knee or his ankle that he's not going out in the outfield. You have a $30 million DH. And I talked this to my friends. I liked the move at the time. I thought it was a really good move by the Yankees to do this because I said for at least the first 7 years of that contract, you're going to have a pretty quality arm. We know how much of a cannon he has in the outfield. You're going to have a good outfield. Right. And then what can you do? You can move him DH. I wasn't thinking 3 years in or whatever it is now that he's just going to be a DH. So it just hampers his team and the moves. And a lot of people are saying that. It's that, and as a Mets fan, I can give you numerous contracts where this happened, and the Mets have shied away from making moves like this. Look at Jason Bay. You can even look at Yohan Santana. I know he gave us our first no-hitter, but for the most part, he was hurt for a lot of it. We gave him a big-time contract. David Wright, as much as we love him, he's one of my favorite Mets of all time. Same thing. We gave him that big contract those last few years, hampered the team because we didn't know what we were going to do. I understand it was stuff out of control. It's out of David Wright's control with this, spinal bifida and all that stuff and how he couldn't be on the field. And he was constantly in pain. But it's the same thing. We gave him that big deal. He couldn't be on the field. Yoenis Cespedes recently, the last Wilpon big deal. Fell into the hog hole, whatever he did, chasing a hog, fell home. We gave him a big contract. He's not on the field. God. So like, and that's what happens. Now the Mets are going, bargain dealing because they are afraid to pull the trigger on big moves. And that's what's happening because with the Yankees right now is that they're afraid to kind of go over this luxury tax. They paid Garrett Cole this money. Now you have Giancarlo Stanton and no one's going to want that contract because he's limited to a DH because they're too afraid to put him out in the field. And it's just costing this team because this team needs to make moves, but then it's like, what can we do? Because we're kind of stuck with this kind of contract. So it's just this whole season looking from afar has just been just very messy, like you said, and it's rich roller coaster. And it's like, what's going on over there? Usually when they start kind of struggling, you kind of start seeing some of the small moves that Cashman starts to make to be like, maybe this will work. And, we saw a few years ago with like the Gio Urshela's and the Luke Voits and all these kind of things. And we're not seeing them do that right now. And I know we're going to also break and, we'll see what he kind of do with the trade deadline. But like right now, looking at this lineup, they need something. and I don't know what that is. But again, it's like we hear them potentially trying to make, but then you could tell that they're kind of nervous to make a big move because of the kind of contracts that they're kind of locked up into. So it's just a very odd, I should say, season from what I'm seeing from the Yankees, especially with the expectations that they had going into this year.
Dude, I don't know how Giancarlo Stanton looks like a Peloton trainer. How is he still not able to, go out in the field? Is it that bad? And, this has been, I mean, I don't get it. What the training staff, just do it. Just do it. I know they're supposed to play the Marlins at the end of the month. They'll try then, but you're right. Long term, it's looking really, really bad at a specific DH. You can't even put Gary in, who is helping this team with the bat. But, especially days when Higgy has to catch and the day Cole pitches. There's nothing we could do about it. And the big question I have to ask, Alex, the big question everyone said, the Yankees need to shake something up. And if things still go on a downward spiral, and if literally the Yankees won, on Sunday, I may not be asking this, but now that they are and only 3 games above 500, and when in terms of shaking things up, would you say to shake things up to either fire Boone or fire Cashman, whether in the middle of the season or if they absolutely miss the playoffs? Do you think they both get the boot and we get a new generation? What would you do?
What I would do, it's tough because I do like Boone and Cash. You can't understate what Cashman's done for that organization. I think he's been, I think, the most successful GM in baseball over his time frame. I don't think they've had
1998.
I forgot. I think they've only had like really one losing season. Yeah, I think they've only
Never
had
a
one
losing season under him.
Season or a couple.
They've missed the playoffs,
so,
but not one losing season. And the only other one is Theo Epstein.
So yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, who's pretty good in his own right. Yeah. So you can't understate that, but I don't think they're going to do midseason. I think they're going to wait and see what happens, barring a run. Really, if you look at it, I mean, I know it's 8 games. Anything can happen in that time frame. Coming out of All-Star break, Boston could start falling apart. Tampa, we know Tampa's good, but if they have struggle. So, and if the Yankees go on a run, they could quickly get themselves back in the wild card and at least picture. It's not a huge deficit to overcome. You look at some of the other divisions and you see these kind of bigger kind of deficits for teams. 8 games is really nothing crazy. And the fact that I think coming out of All-Star break, they have a lot of matchups against the Red Sox.
They start next week. They start this weekend. They'll play a 4-game series at the stadium.
So, that's a huge series. They need to try to win a sweep or win 3 out of 4 there. So it all depends really. I think coming at the end of the season, what happens. I think if they miss the playoffs completely, I can see some changes. I think they would go Boone over Cashman, but I could be wrong. Cashman has been there for a while. These last few years, you've really had a window to win a championship, and it never came to fruition. So I guess from a Yankee fan standpoint, it has been disappointing these last few years not getting a World Series with this team as good as the team has been the last 3 years, other than this year. So it could be time. Sometimes it happens. You look across other sports. Sometimes you have a long relationship and it just has to end. And
yeah, right.
You hate to see it because, like I said, you can't understate what Cashman has done since he's been there and how great he's made the Yankees. And never having a losing season is something to hang your hat on, obviously. And but sometimes the relationships run their course, and maybe that's where they go. They say, we thank you for these years that you've been here, but I think we want to go in a different direction. And if that's the case, I could see them just cleaning house and restarting. But like I said, I think the decision really will come at the end of the year. And I guess we have to see what happens with the trade deadline. Is Cashman aggressive? Is he going after? Do they still think they have a shot? Do they flip to go to sell mode? Like, we don't know what's going to happen. I don't think they're going to sell. Obviously, I think there'll be buyers at the trade deadline. But I think if there were to be a decision, it will be at the end of the year. And like I said, I think if anything, it would most likely be Boone over Cashman. But I could also see them clearly just saying, hey, you know what? Maybe it's time for a new start, and we're going to hit a restart, kind of, not a rebuild, but just a new direction and have someone else come in. So we'll see. But I think the decision will definitely be more at the end of the year than midseason.
And one of the great points you made too is that this lineup doesn't work. You either tell Cashman, hey, it's time to sell these players off, as long as you just keep Aaron Judge, which I know these dumb people who I know you get the most value from him, but you can't take the face of a franchise off. So just leave it off the table. And yeah, you need to get lefty hitters. You need to hit more contact hitters, and you got to just switch it up one way or the other. I know we're stuck with Chapman. You need to get some new relievers. And I guess if, you know, that is true. So 98 was his first season, literally since my middle brother, Brendan. So 24 straight years, not one losing season. You are on the brink of that. You're only 3 games above 500. And that would be I mean, that'd be a tough note for Cashman to go off on. But if that happens, just get something new. I don't. That'd be the one time if the analytics nerds out there want to make that type of change and prove that, fine. As long as you just keep Aaron Judge, and we're just gonna have to see once and for all. I think eyes are slowly on them. I mean, slowly. The eyes are locked on them. They have a $221 million payroll, while you have the Rays, who have a $40 million payroll, blowing them in the wind. And something's got to make a big move from that. Even if two of those players get 60 million of those in Cole and Stanton. And don't forget, a lot of these players' baby bomber contracts are ending. You got to decide who you're going to keep, whether you're Gary Sanchez is, your Aaron Judges, Clint Frazier's, all that. And yeah, the time matters. This is going to be one of the most interesting second halves of the seasons. Now I've come to grips that if they don't make it, I'll be okay while we have an exciting football season coming up. But I better see some changes that way, man. And strong fingers crossed. Strong fingers crossed. So some of the other cool headlines with baseball, I was just wondering, what were some of the other teams or players that's really sparked your interest? As we mentioned, I mean, it sucks for me, but the Red Sox really are playing one hell of a season. Their over-under was like 69, and they're already at 55. So I wish I was a betting man then. You'd be very comfortable. As you said, the Giants, who would have thought everyone expected a great rivalry between the Padres and the Dodgers. But now you have the San Francisco Giants on top of that. You have Buster Posey playing
involved, yeah.
You have Buster Posey playing like his old self. He's batting .328. That's insane right now. You have your Mike Yastrzemskis, your Brandon Crawfords, and stuff. Wilmer Flores has been a huge contributor for the Giants. I'm sure you miss him right now. And then, other
I always love Wilmer.
Yeah, see if the Oakland A's are finally going to stick to it and win or have been popular. You have the Reds have been an awesome story with Nick Castellanos becoming a star. It's been quite a ride, and I was just wondering, what were some of the other teams that really sparked your interest and made it fun for you?
It's not really making it team wise. I'll go kind of the player route, and I think you automatically are going to know what I'm going to say here. But just watching Shohei Ohtani, just do what he's doing this year, and the fact that we're going to get him in the All-Star game, we're going to get him in the home run derby. Like the home run, we'll talk a little about the home run derby too, but mainly just watching Shohei Ohtani and how fascinating this season is. Just seeing what he's doing. This is all what we were kind of expecting when he first started, but obviously he kind of had the injuries with pitching and his elbow, and his hitting really wasn't. I mean, he still hit some bombs, but the fact that he just set the record for Japanese-born player home run totals, passing
in the first half of the season.
The great and one of our. Yeah, the first half of the season too, but the great Hideki Matsui, one of our favorites growing up, even though he was a Yankee, but one of my favorites to watch was Hideki Matsui. Just seeing what Shohei is doing, it's just historic. Same thing, like I said, you can't take things like this for granted. What we're seeing from Jacob deGrom, and then you're for pitching, and seeing what you're seeing from Shohei, who's doing both, who's doing great pitching and hitting, and it's just fascinating. It's so fun to watch. I'm loving seeing Shohei this year.
Yeah, how can you not? He literally looks like an Adonis. It's such a beautiful swing. You know what I heard? Mike Trout said that he doesn't take BP. So the fact that he's hit 33 home runs without BP, I mean, imagine what you're going to get at the All-Star game and the home run derby. And obviously the derby will already have passed when it airs. But you probably expect him to win the whole thing, don't you think? And he's definitely MVP. I mean, you can't be more of an MVP than Shohei Ohtani, both pitching and hitting like this, don't you think? It's just too bad the Angels suck, man.
Yeah.
Except against the
Yeah.
Yankees.
It's just the same thing. It's like, it's. I think going into next year, I think the Angels will be a team to watch because Pujols is finally off the books. I know they released him, and now he's doing okay with the Dodgers, which
Yeah.
is just weird seeing him in a Dodgers uniform.
And then you'll have Trout
But
come back too.
I think the fact once I was telling a lot of people, yeah, I was telling a lot of people once that Pujols contract comes off the books for them, I think you can see the Angels finally being, we're going to dress like pitching and just throw money at pitching and like get everything set away. But yeah, just seeing, I can't wait for this home run derby because just the lineup, and we'll go through it real quick. I'll read the lineup, but it's going to be like so fun. But it's also at Coors Field, so balls are going to be absolutely crushed there. And I'm looking here, Shohei Ohtani's longest home run of 2021 was 470 feet versus the Royals. So, and his hardest hit was against your Yankees on June 28th. He hit it 117 miles an hour. So picture him hitting it that hard and that far, then add the Coors Field air, and it's going to be crazy. So
Do you
yeah,
think,
it's just like you said, talk about MVP. It's tough to not say Shohei in that conversation. But we're
right?
gonna.
I was just wondering, do you think he will literally hit the longest home run? He'll hit. Let's not get that ambitious, but do you think he'll hit 500 footers in the home run derby?
I think we can see him do that. If you look at this roster, there's definitely like the lineup. We'll read real quick. There's definitely a guy here. Shohei, I could see a couple other guys. There's going to be someone that hits it like 490, close to 5. There's going to be someone I feel that is going to get like absolutely uncork one, and it's going to be awesome. Like, so we'll just go through. I'll just read real quick, just a bracket. We got Shohei versus Juan Soto. That's going to be fun. Then you got Joey Gallo going up against Trevor Story. That's going to be cool. Matt Olson, who can hit bombs, we all know, against Trey Mancini. Great story, obviously, with Trey Mancini. Salvador Perez going up against Pete Alonso. We saw what Pete did last year in the home run derby. Hopefully he can, do some cool stuff this year. So that's what we have. So there's guys here that can hit absolute bombs. Matt Olson, like you said, Joey Gallo, Shohei, Juan Soto. So a lot of star power, and like seeing these guys' longest home runs, they're all like some of these guys have hit 450. Trey Mancini's 450. Salvador Perez is 460. Who else? Like I said, we said Shohei. There's guys who've hit tanks. Trevor 466 for Trevor Story, 462 for Joey Gallo. So there's a lot of guys here that are gonna hit bombs. So I think someone in Coors Field is gonna clear. I'm hoping from a fan perspective, I think it'd be awesome if someone hits like 490. There's going to be someone that definitely unloads one, and we'll see who it is. I can see Shohei being one of the guys who does it. I think Shohei and Joey Gallo probably have the potential to hit close to 500, I would think, just the way their swings are.
Would you say, who do you think is going to be the final two and who's going to take it all? Is it those two you just mentioned you pick between those two who would win? Or do you think maybe Pete Alonso, your boy, could get it? Or what? Where do you see this going?
I want to see Shohei win it, but then again, it's like his first home run derby, and I feel like a lot of players sometimes they burn through their energy in the first rounds, and then they get eliminated because there's guys who've been there who've done it. I think Pete. I don't know if anyone else in this one has done it. Maybe Joey's done it. I can't think off the top, but I could see. I would. Let me see. I think of final. I was just looking at this. I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be. I can see Joey Gallo being in the final. Just trying to see what like the actual bracket how it would line up. Let me see who we got. So yeah, I can see it being. Ooh, I like the lefties. I think there's got to be a lefty winner. So either Matt Olson, Gallo, or Shohei. I don't think Juan will. I don't think Juan will get out of the first round against Shohei. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna just broaden it. I'm gonna say a left-handed hitter is gonna win the home run derby. So it's either gonna be Matt Olson, Joey Gallo, or Shohei will be my three people to potentially win the home run derby. I love Pete, and I know he did it last year, but I don't think he can do it again. But who knows? Maybe he can. I mean, he's hit some tanks these last few days to get warmed up for it. So you never know. That's what makes the home run derby so exciting. You never know who's going to end up at the end of it.
It's going to be a game for sure and a fun game to watch. Just sticking to the All-Star game too. I'm really interested to hear what you say about this particular, Alex. So, despite the ugly jerseys, All-Star game's back. It airs tonight on Fox at 8. So, I was wondering though, we have seen players drop out of it. DeGrom, Altuve, Correa. I wanted to know, do you think Mookie Betts, another one? Now, listen, the All-Star game may not have as much pizzazz as when we were kids, but it's still fun to see the stars amongst themselves, though they definitely shouldn't do the uniforms. The best part of the All-Star game is seeing the different uniforms. Hence, you're amongst the best of your group. So hopefully that changes next year. But I was wondering, do you think this trend could be ongoing? Do you think this is bad for baseball? I mean, the point of the All-Star game is you see the best of the best there. And some of them aren't going to be there. You're not going to have the best pitcher in baseball in the All-Star game. Do you think this is bad? Do you think this is a trend? Do you think some people say, oh, this proves that players don't care about fans or money? That's some people's opinions from that. Or do you think it's just, exhibition game, don't want to risk injury? What do you think? Where do you think this is going? The first time that something like this is happening that I can think of, at least.
I don't think it's necessarily awful. I don't know if it's going to be like a continuous trend. I just think if you just look at sports in general, just seeing, obviously we've been in a pandemic for, close to 2 years almost, or, not, year and a half. A lot of things kind of started up and rushed. There's short off seasons and short breaks for a lot of these players. And
good point.
I think a lot of them, it was more of like, I'm just going to rest this one out. I just want to rest, and like you said, it's an exhibition game. It's cool and all to see how, but not having it, I think not having, home field advantage being decided by the All-Star game anymore. I think that also played a factor into it. But I just think a lot of these guys have said, like, it's been a lot, and I just kind of want to be with my family and relax and recoup and get ready for the second half of the season. So I don't know if it's going to be a trend per se of like all the star players all of a sudden not appearing in the All-Star game. But I think just because of where we've been, with this pandemic, I think and looking at it from across a lot of sports, just seeing a lot of the toll that it's taken on a lot of these players, I can understand why a lot of them are just saying it's just an exhibition game. I could sit out. Thank you, fans, for voting me in. It's a great honor. It's a great, thing to be. But I'm just gonna kind of rest this one out. Just how the last few years have been for us as athletes. With like I said, the quick turnaround. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be a huge trend. Is it unfortunate for baseball that we won't have the best pitcher in the All-Star game? Yeah, or guys like Mookie who are huge fan favorites and draws to the All-Star game. Yeah, but I think it's just more of the product of what we're in right now, and a lot of these players are thinking bigger picture, and they just want to pass on this exhibition game so they can heal up and get ready for the second half of the season because they have to make a push for the playoffs.
One of my favorite takes is that Altuve and Correa are sitting because they don't want to get booed and destroyed for being Astros. But yeah, that could be a factor with what you're saying too. Maybe they just want to break. Maybe they just, want to finally take the time to rest and pull out. And yeah, I guess we'll just take everything in 2020 in sports with a grain of salt. And now that it looks like this fall it's getting back to normal, NBA starting on time, NHL starting on time, NFL obviously starting on time. You can make your judgments if this is the case next year, but just, let it go. They changed the All-Star game from Atlanta to Colorado after that whole voting situation mess. It's so stupid, but so stupid that Atlanta that Georgia did that, and I'm glad they moved to teach him a lesson. And well, let's just enjoy the All-Star game. Just enjoy it. Just take it in. And we have such an exciting second half of baseball to go from it. And my last point here, the last thing to discuss in this great podcast. I'm just saying, what do you think? Where do we see we go from here on out? Do we, in a general sphere, do you think things are staying the same? Are the Yankees going to turn it around, or we're going to have a historic offseason? Are the Mets holding it down? Are the Giants legit? What's going on with the Padres and Dodgers? What else do you want to see with the rest of baseball in this big second half coming into it?
I just love seeing competition. I love seeing races. I think the NL West is going to be so fun to watch between the Giants, the Padres, the Dodgers. I think that's going to be a really cool division to kind of see, especially late in the year. I love seeing those kind of late season matchups of it's like they need to win like 2 out of 3 and all this stuff. And I think there's a lot of close races to look at. AL East, Boston, Tampa Bay. Boston's having a year that a lot of people weren't expecting. White Sox looking good out of the Central.
Yep.
They're a fun team to watch.
Them. They're good.
They're only going to get healthier. Like you said, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, the Central there. It's only 4 games right now. The Reds are looking pretty good. Can they close the gap and win the Central? So there's a lot of fun races to look out for going into this second year or second half of the year, I should say. And, certain players, doing historic things. Is DeGrom going to break the ERA record? What is Shohei? Is Shohei going to hit like 60 bombs this year? Like, what's going to happen there? And, it's just, I'm looking forward to watch the second half. I think it's been really fun. Just a lot of unprecedented things that we haven't seen before happening, and just historic things individually for players. Like I said, I keep on bringing up, but guys like Jacob, guys like Shohei, things that they're doing we haven't seen in ever. Shohei being the first, 2-way All-Star in MLB history, and like you said, a lot of people thought that Bob Gibson record was one of baseball's unbreakable records, and DeGrom's on pace right now to break that. So, it should be a very, very exciting second half, and then we'll see what happens, obviously, with the CBA and the agreement there, and what's happening with the future of baseball. That's a whole other topic. We could probably do like a whole 2.5-hour podcast on ways we think we can make baseball better in the CBA there. So that's something to look at.
Yeah, we'll save that
right now.
Winter.
We have baseball. We're happy we have baseball. Yeah, and we'll see what happens going forward. But like I said, there's a lot of fun, exciting races to watch, and I think it's only going to get better coming out All-Star break, seeing these storylines starting to develop.
Well, Alex, you perfectly wrote what the next half of baseball is going to be like. I don't think you missed one point there. That shows how talented you are. But besides that, we can wrap it up for today. It's been a wow first half. That's all I have to say. Wow, with everything going together. Now let's see where this all plays out. Let's enjoy these last 2 months of summer as we get into football season. Excited to have you for football coverage as well. And let's try to go to a game this August as well. I'll be on top of that and ask your availability all the time, whether Mets or Yankees, or if you want to go see the San Francisco Giants random trip. But at least one baseball game this summer. Let's try to get to it, man. And this is why you're the great Alex Young, man. Anything else you have to say before we sign off?
No, thank you again for having me. I always have a blast coming on here talking about literally any sport. Me and you have been doing this now for a while. We've been buddies for first friend I met in college. I know a lot of we said that when I first came on this podcast a while ago, it seems now, but the fact that we keep on doing this and the fact you have me on is just it's truly an honor, and I'm always excited to be a part of this podcast, and continuing looking forward to joining you and talking about anything New York sports or just sports in general. So again, thank you so much for having me, Matt. I had a blast again.
And of course, life of pop culture. We have those shows too. Anything. Anything. That's why you're the great Alex Young, and I appreciate you, man. Thank you for your kind words. So with that, That's my great friend Alex Young. We'll see you before we know it. And you have a great day, my friend. And good luck to your Mets. And hopefully the Yankees, well, I'll just say I'm just ready for all options at this point. But it's going to be fun either way. Mm-hmm. All right, Alex, you're the man. And I'll catch you really, really soon.
Sounds good, man. Thank you again for having me. Let's go Mets, and good luck to your Yankees going forward. Have a good one, buddy.
They need a lot of it, man. All right, I'll catch you later, Alex.
Later, man.